Hi, I'm John Waterhouse, and this is Weekday Wisdom. My question for you today is, can you vote without judging? This is my third edition of Weekday Wisdom where I'm going to talk about voting. I promised it will be the last, at least for a while. So in 5 days, Americans will be electing local, state, and national officials to represent us for the next 2, 4, or 6 years, depending on what their term is for each office. Some say who you vote for is the most important thing, but I believe how we vote is even more important. I've never run for public office, but I have run for leadership in our spiritual organization. And I want you to know it's not easy to stand for leadership. You have to tell everyone why you're the right person for the job. And in essence, you're telling them why the others aren't, why they're the wrong ones. And there's just no way around that in an election. Sometimes it gets out of hand, especially in these public elections, but that's just a necessary part of the process. And it's never comfortable because I actually many times like the people who are running for the same position that I was. And that's challenging. I have to say I learned as much, though, from the elections that I was involved in, from the elections that I was not elected, as I did in the ones that I was elected. Being elected is exhilarating, and not being elected is painful, but you get past that. But the whole idea of putting yourself forward for a position is undervalued, I think, in our culture. And I want to give you some thoughts about that that come from a great American, at least a great American to me, and someone who was a politician, and someone who spoke very clearly about this idea of running for office, although he did it, as he often did, in a very poetic way that didn't ever even say the word vote. The politician I'm talking about is Theodore Roosevelt, the 27th president of the United States. Roosevelt has been someone who I've admired since I was young and studying history. His life was extraordinary, and at least it was to me. Teddy Roosevelt was a very sickly child. He had a number of ailments and looked like he was just going to be this scrawny little kid without much to do in life. But he had a self-determination that was greater than that. And so he overcame all of his ailments by sheer insistence that they would be gone. And he lived a very powerful and a very, one might say, athletic or outdoors type of life. He had some real qualities that stood out from most people that we know. He lived in the 18th and 19th centuries, didn't he? No, the 19th and 20th centuries is where he lived. But he was a speed reader. And he had a photographic memory, at least he said he had a photographic memory. And many occasions he had the ability to recite poetry or other things from memory without anything more than just remembering. He was also a prolific writer. He wrote and published 35 books, and he wrote over 150,000 letters during his lifetime. He was the youngest person to ever become president. Still to this day, that's true. He was vice president to William McKinley, who was assassinated. And he was the first American president to win a Nobel Peace Prize. And I could go on and on about the things that were different and interesting about the life of Theodore Roosevelt. But I want to share with you his words that really touched my heart the first time I read them. And I've kept them close and thought about them many times. And what this is called is the man in the arena. These are Theodore Roosevelt's words. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strive valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end triumph of high achievement, or who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Wow, that blows me away. That's so clear. And again, even though he never talks about running for office or about an election, to me, that's exactly what he's talking about. These words tell me to never have disdain for a candidate. I don't have to agree with a candidate, but the idea that they're willing to step forward and do these incredibly difficult jobs means a lot. Everyone who runs for office has shortcomings, but somehow each one is willing to step forward to do, in my estimation, what is challenging, which calls for the best of us, so that it serves us as voters to appreciate the ones that we vote for, but not to judge or ridicule the ones that we don't. It just doesn't help anything. It doesn't help us individually. It doesn't help us collectively. We should always vote for the person that resonates with the government that we envision. But there is absolutely no value in devaluing everyone else. So I encourage you to vote, to be a part of this elective process. It's a great honor to be able to do this. I also encourage you to accept the election results. They may not be the way you want it to be, but always remember that God's in the midst of this as much as anything else, and that our lives continue to unfold, and there's always a blessing in there somewhere. So think about that. Again, this will be the last time I talk about elections for a long time, if ever again. And I wish for you, as always, that you have a fantastic day.